All right. We actually finished this, but for some reason it didn't record. So let's do it this time. This is a Sicha from the Rebbe that he said in 1991. And it's from this week's Torah portion, VaYIkra. And it also happened to be that the VaYIkra fell on the same Shabbat that the first day of the month, the Jewish month, was. And also on that month, because it was the first day of the month of Nisan, so they read a special Torah portion at the end, which is Parshat HaChodesh. It talks about the first commandment that God gave to the Jewish people is to sanctify the months. Sanctify the months. So the Rebbe said that because the Torah is not only just the will and the wisdom of God, and it's before the world, but it also comes to teach us, oh, here we go. Shalom. Comes to teach us how to live our lives. The Herschel Shalom. I want to do this Sicha over again that we did. We did it a couple of weeks ago, just the end part of it, because I forgot to record it. So now we'll record it this time. It's interesting though, what the Rebbe has to say. The message is very powerful message. So the Rebbe said, what can we learn? This week, first of all, we're learning VaYIkra, and it is the beginning of the month of Nisan. And last week we read Parshat HaChodesh, which is the first commandment God gave to the Jewish people, is renewing the month. So the Rebbe says this gives us then the power to reveal who we really are. The Jewish people are supposed to be here to make a big renewal in the whole entire world, the whole entire creation, but we have to start with ourselves in order to bring this amazing good world that is just waiting for us in this world. We have to be also good, and we want to make a new world, so we have to be new, and we want to make a different world, then we have to be different. We want to make a miraculous world, then we have to be miraculous. And the Rebbe said before, how can you be a miraculous person? By doing what's the right thing to do according to the Torah, and not worrying about the future. Not worrying about the future. That will transform the present world, because one of the big things that the world, the tricks that the world does, and of course this is the way God created it, is that it makes you afraid of the future. The future hasn't even come yet, but you're already afraid of it. So sometimes that's good. I mean, so you don't drive on the wrong side of the street, or walk off of bridges or something. That's good. But then there's also unhealthy fear. And then there's also too much fear. The person can be so afraid of, driving on the wrong side of the road is a good thing. But some people can be so afraid of driving on the wrong side of the road, they don't want to drive at all. So that's too much. The same thing here is, you have to do Torah, the commandments, and you have to also do it in a nice way. And that you have to take in consideration what people think. But you can't be too worried about what people think, or too worried about what's going to happen. You have to, like the Jewish people left Egypt and they had no idea where they were going. They just knew it was a good thing. This is what God wanted. Okay, so let's start over here. So it says, okay, and may it be God's will that if you make a resolution to live your life in such a fashion that you're going to really start depending on the creator of the universe and doing what the creator of the universe wants, and being positive and not being afraid unnecessarily. And then if you make this decision, Shekibel, that everybody accepts on themselves Rosh Chodesh Nisan. If you didn't do Rosh Chodesh Nisan, you could do it now. To add in everything of serving God, including and especially matters of Passover, learning the laws of Passover, giving charity and the needs of Passover to those who need it, in an ofen that you give above normal, nisit, in a miraculous way. you give more than what you want, and not worry so much about the future. Then you will hurry up speed and bring the redemption in a way by means of who? God. I mean, God does exist, and God, the whole message of Egypt, of Passover, is that God is involved and God will help. It's not all up to us. We have to act as though it is, and then God will help us. And He'll help us in a miraculous way that we realize that things are happening that are totally not commensurate to what we did. That's like they left Egypt, but even more so. Beginning from the main miracle of the future redemption. That then what will happen, the big miracle, that's what we're all waiting for. That then all of the Jewish people will do all of the laws of Passover in the most complete way. In fact, there'll even be a holy temple, and we'll be able to sacrifice the Korban Pesach on the 14th day of Nisan, which is what? 8 days away? And we'll be able to eat it on the 15th day of Nisan. Seems impossible? Well, you're right, it is impossible, but God does the impossible. Shekol B'nai Yisrael, that all the Jewish people will be together in a free, sitting in a free way on the father of the table of their father, who? Hashem, God. The Melech Malchei Amlachim Kodesh Baruch Hu, the King of Kings, Kodesh Baruch Hu, in Jerusalem, Ir HaKodesh, and the chamber of the king, the Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi, the third temple. And this is the main thing, that the future redemption by means of the Moshiach will come immediately. On Shabbat Parshas VaYIkra, this Parsha, Rosh Chodesh Nisan. This year it didn't come out Rosh Chodesh Nisan, it comes out the 7th day of Nisan. The year Tavshin Nun Aleph, it's not Tavshin, change that for a Pei. Tavshin Pei Aleph, which will be Shanat Erenu Niflaot. This will be Shanat Erenu Plaot. Just take out the Nun, put the Pei, just leave it as it is. Niflaot Plaot. Yom Shabbat Kodesh. This is something like the day that's totally Shabbos and eternal rest from bad things, like we say in the blessings of Shabbat. It's also Parshat VaYIkra. What is Parshat VaYIkra? That God called to Moshe from the Ohel Moed, like we learned in the Mimer, beautiful Mimer we just finished learning in L'Chutei Torah. The Ohel Moed was the total revelation of God, that especially the total revelation will be in the third temple. That will be eternal. And it will be also number three is a chazaka, means that something is going to for sure is permanent. And it will, in the third temple, will include in it the first and the second temple. And this is what we've just finished Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Rosh Chodesh means the beginning of renewal. Chirush Halavana, renewing the moon. And the Jewish people are compared to the moon. This is like the Jewish people, that they're compared to the moon, and they also have their calendar according to the moon. And it says that the Jewish people are going to become full, like the moon becomes full, and even more full. It says the moon will be even more powerful than the sun. More than it was in the beginning of the creation. And this is the month of Nisan, the month of Nisim, miracles, and also the month of redemption. It happened in the past. This is the basis of Judaism. The basis of Judaism is that God actually, factually, really, historically took the 3 million people out of Egypt at once. Pop. Impossible. This is not one slave ever in the history of Egypt ever escaped from Egypt up to that point. Now, all of a sudden, one night went out 3 million people. Amazing. This really happened. This is not just our story and our whatever it is, our heritage that we made up. This actually, nobody even claims such a thing like this. But even if it's not true, God forbid. So why didn't somebody else make up such a story? This month is when it happened, and it'll happen again. But Nisan, Nigalu, and Nisan, we were redeemed, and Nisan, we are going to be redeemed again. And this is Tafshin Nun Aleph. Tenaseh means to be elevated. This we're talking about, what, 30 years ago? 30 years ago. And also, Naseh is the thing of a Nasi. Nasi means a leader. Like it says, King David, he will be the leader over them forever. David Malka Mashiach. So David said that was 30 years ago. For sure, that is in power right now. This will be the year of God will show us miracles. And all the power of miracles. This is like right after the Iron Curtain fell, maybe a little bit before that, the Iron Curtain fell. And right after that, Saddam Hussein shot all those missiles, nothing happened. But in any case, the miracles are there. They're eternal, and we just have to open our eyes and see them. Here the Rebbe is saying, this is it. Listen, a person can say, oh, come on, really? I mean, this is going to really happen. So, but this is the basis of Judaism. This is the basis of our religion. This is the whole, this is what, and you can say, all right, you can have a basis whatever you want to, but who says it's true? He says, well, Jews have been holding on to this idea for 3,300 years. 3,300 years. They've been passing the same story down, and we've only suffered because of it. We only suffered because of it. There's been all these attempts to get rid of this idea. The last and perhaps the most successful up to now was Zionism. Then we're not a holy nation, right? Holy, and God took us out of Egypt. Come on, right? And God, but it doesn't work. It won't work because it's true, and it touches the essence of every Jewish soul. That's the point. It's not just that it's a we're just gullible people, the most gullible nation in the world. Never been such a nation of gullible fools like the Jews. Okay, that also makes us unique. There's never been such a thing. So then you can't deny that somehow or other something is going on. We're a unique nation. Either you can say that we're just a stubborn nation, we're just holding on to this ridiculous story that makes no sense, that nobody else even made up such a story. Or we can say, listen, it really happened. It really did happen. And not only that, you can say, deep in the soul of every Jew, he knows for sure, without any doubt, that it happened. The problem is revealing the essence of the soul, and that's what the Rebbe wants. This, not only did it happen, but the point is the reason that it happened and that we should believe that it happened is because it's going to happen again. And it's going to happen now. That's what we're supposed to believe. Says the Rebbe, like there's a very special person in the Chabad. His name is Rabbi Yoel Khan. He's an amazing mind, a tremendous memory, very talented in a lot of other different ways also. And his wife is also, I don't think, any less talented than he. In any case, they interviewed them. They interviewed them on BBC. This was not so long ago. And they said, they asked him and her the same question. First of all, they asked him, do you think that the Lubavitcher Rebbe, do you believe that the Lubavitcher Rebbe is the Mashiach? So he gave this long answer, and of course you have to understand what Mashiach is, and it could be, and this and that. And then, in his style, the genius person. And it was an answer of, a half a minute or whatever. And they asked her, do you believe that the Lubavitcher Rebbe is the Mashiach? And she said, I don't believe the Rebbe is Mashiach. I am certain the Rebbe is Mashiach. And it was down deep inside of every Jew, they are certain, without any doubt, that God took us out of Egypt, and that God is, with amazing miracles, and that God is going to do it again right now. And he's going to do it by means of the Mashiach. And the Rambam writes the criterion of Mashiach. And we're supposed to be looking impatiently and trying to search and waiting impatiently For who is this person? Who has these criterion? Anyone who has these criterion, we can say is the Moshiach. There could be 10 people, could be 100 people, anybody who has the criterion. As far as I know, there's no other candidates. And the Lubavitcher Rebbe is the only, and he has all the criterion. So he's got the criterion. And here we are, and everything according to the Rambam is just, so what's missing? Says the Rebbe, I don't know. But the fact is, that's not our business. Our business is to know that in a second, it's going to happen. The world is going to be a miraculously good place. This will be a chazakah because we took out the 3 Sefer Torahs and we read these 3 Sefer Torahs and also the Haftorah of these 3 Sefer Torahs that we took out. Okay, like I said, this year we took out 3 Sefer Torahs, but not all on Shabbat. We took out 2 of them on Shabbat and then 1 the next day. And it was, but in any case, this is what it says. And 2 days, the third, number 3, is the final completion when there will be the whole 3rd temple and the dead will rise up. That we didn't talk about. And like it says in the Haftorah, and will be that every month in its time and every Shabbat, beginning this Shabbat, will come all humanity and bow down in front of me in the holy temple, the Bayit HaMikdash HaShlishi, says God. Hashlemus the Oel Moed. As it is nowadays, everybody, for some reason or other, says that Jerusalem is a holy place, except for the Jews, the Israeli government. It's a historical place. It's a who knows what. They don't. there was once a prime minister in Israel, and his name was Ehud Barak. He was the general. He was in charge of the Entebbe raid and everything. When he became the prime minister, he was like the worst of all. He was really terrible. In any case, he said to the Arabs, "What are we holding on this? We'll give you everything. We'll give you all of Jerusalem, everything. We'll give you the whole thing, anything you want. Let's make peace. Why are we holding this stuff? We're going to give you everything, but we're not going to give you the wall, the kotel." Now, this man was totally, as not religious, as possible, I think. He was not a religious, that Jew, and had nothing, no connection, Torah, but he wouldn't give the kotel. And after this, they said, "No, we want everything." I said, "Listen, I'm going to give you all this land. You're going to have, the whole thing is going to be yours, No, we want the kotel. We have to have the wall." And so afterwards, he said, so they refused the whole thing, And even if he would have given the wall, they also wouldn't be satisfied. That's the fact. But the fact is, he said he wouldn't give them the wall. So he said afterwards, "I can't figure out why I did that." He said, "Why didn't I give him the wall?" And he refused. He had a long time to consider. No ways. There's the famous, there's a place called Gush Etzion. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, they have over there a sort of an exhibit of the 6-day war. And the exhibit is really nothing really special. Maybe once it used to be, but anyway. But there's one part where they have this movie. And they have this little clip of Mote Gur. Mote Gur was the general in charge of the troops that took over Jerusalem. So, and they have a recording of him, and it's in Hebrew, what he said. So it said like this. I mean, they played it. I wept. I cried when I heard it. So he said like this. He said, "It's a historic moment. We have broken through, and the kotel is in our hands. The kotel of Ma'arivi biyadenu. He says the kotel is in our hands." And this, okay, that was one message that he sent. And then, like 3 minutes later, he sent another message, and they had this recorded. He said, "Ani lo adam ma'amin." He said, "I'm not a religious person. V'lo haiti af pam," and I never was. You'll listen to it. It's something like this. "Ani lo adam ma'amin." I'm not a person that believes, and I never was. But he said, "Ani nogea ba'avnei hakotel." V'ani mitragesh. says, but I'm touching the stones of the kotel, and I'm filled with emotion. He said, "I want to say filled with emotion for because it's a historical place. I mean, he touched. There's walls in Caesarea and other historical places in Israel. He touched the wall. He couldn't figure out what was going on, and there was the the paratroopers. When they took the 6-day war, there's pictures of them. And they came and they were weeping. Paratroopers. They grew up in Shomer Hatzair kibbutzes, the leftist, far leftist kibbutzes. They had pictures of Stalin on the wall. Really, it says Shemesh Lamim. He's the illuminator of the nations. They ate pork on Yom Kippur. Absolutely nothing to do with Jew. They hated this, and they came to the kotel and they put on kippahs and they were crying. So B'derech Mamela. So that's what's going to be the Lashon HaKatuv, like it says, every year everyone will come to the world and they'll bow down to God in the third temple. That this is everyone will take a chodesh, like it says, take par ben bakor v'chatas and mamshich, and it says all the things of the Chanukas HaMizbeach. This is what we say every day of the anointing of the tabernacle and the altar. And this will be by means of the Melech HaMashiach. The third temple will be built. Maybe you can ask a question, come on, how it's going to take a long time to build the third temple. How are we going to be? And we only got 8 days. How is it going to be? So it says very simple. It says the base of Mikdash is going to fall from heaven. Mikdash Hashem konani yodecha. This is brought also in there's a Gemara in Sukkah. It's brought in Rashi, brings it Tosfot, also in the Zohar, that the third temple is going to fall from heaven. But Derech Memilas automatically. Now when comes Yud Daled Nisan, then we will all of us, all the Jewish people, all the generations, we will all be in the third temple. Get ready. Psychologically. Samechem b'binyan erecha, joyous in the building of your built city, and being happy and whatever is exuberant in serving you, God. And then we will eat from the Zevachim and from the Pesachim, that their blood will reach on the wall of the Mizbeach, and we'll sing a new song, Al Gulatenu and Gulut Patenu Baruch Atah Hashem, Goal Yisrael. Says the Rebbe, you should know that this revelation will be to every single Jew, including the smallest of the small children, that they will come even before they even understand anything, that they will see the 3 books taken out, and they will kiss the Sefer Torahs, and then this you should know, the Aron HaKodesh, and the holiness will be felt and everywhere. These are all notes from what we had previously. Okay, so that is the message of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Melech HaMashiach's Sicha from Taf, Shin, Nun, Aleph, and it's relevant now more than ever. Right? If it didn't manifest itself then, it means it's really, really late, and it has to happen any second. Let's just do a little bit of the Likkutei Sichos that I wanted to start before, a little bit, why not? Okay, so we asked the question before, if you remember when we answered it. It says on the second day of Passover, you're supposed to make some sort of at least a mention of Haman. Haman, because Haman was hung on the second day of Passover. This is good. He was hung on the second day of Passover. What's it got to do with us? So he said the whole idea of the second day of Passover, it's celebrated outside of Israel, in Gullus, in exile. And Haman being hung as a sign that the darkest, deepest, most painful period in the time of the history of the Jewish people, Haman. Haman was worse than Hitler. Hitler he only destroyed all the Jews in Egypt, in Europe or whatever. Haman wanted to destroy all the Jews in one day. And nevertheless, all of a sudden, the whole thing turned over. When was it? On the second day of Passover. So the second day of Passover in exile, the second day of Passover is the thing you only celebrate in exile. So it comes so that even in the exile, that everything can turn around to be tremendously transform misery to joy. That's what we said here. So it says, on the night of Passover, Elijah the prophet comes and he announces the future redemption. Oh, 1 second. You don't see this, do you? 1 second. 1 minute. Don't. Here we go. Let's turn off. Yeah. Right. Here we go. Excuse me. Okay, here we go. Yes.